The dove strip of Trin City is buttoned up tight like a gal laced to asphyxiation. Metal plates from sloppy welds, still warped from the last storm, protect glass, while large poles have been hydraulically risen from the streets in front of buildings to stop anything from tearing a vehicle-shaped hole through their front sides as the buildings sway in the wind. Gray dust has took the air, filled with bullets of hail that rail buildings in blistering buckshot. Lightning crackles and bites like stinging wasps at rods and walls, sparking, scorching, and playing havoc on electrical systems strung by the lowest bidder. Structures feel the hurt of uncaring pockets of cold, snapping air that paint steel-shuttered windows in swaths of ice as ball lightning hovers past shuddering balconies. The now gray air is given form by sunlight, making the whole damn thing look like the plume of a burnin' oil rig of old, red and orange rising from the sky and ground both, an unstoppable avatar of creation born into destructive being. The John Henry Building stands stalwart, the Crow family's business of violence reflected in the uneven stair-stepped square floors of the tower. All of the planters have been brought inside before the whole cage of a thing was closed and blanketed in metal. The eerie black rods that litter it vibrate now, moving slightly in irregular robotic patterns to accommodate the wind stresses, buffeted by the wind and whistling their own little harmonic tunes to counter spontaneous cracks forming in the now covered glass and old concrete. The humming sound of a tube television from the old world, reincarnated onto an alien one. This ain't the tower's first rodeo. Like the rest of the corporate residences, it's seen 1,000 storms, and besides the normal maintenance one accrues, it's done alright for itself. But for the rest of the city they call Trinity, it ain't gonna be no picnic. Folks living here shelter in subterranean rail stations or privatized shelters, worried sick about lost wages, and if the damages to their homes will put them out of code compliance. Inside the tower, though, the shut-in party hosted by Kaz Crow and Vivian Rook is a hoppin'. No expense was spared to license the rights to the classical tunes of Bach from the Taurus family, the hired string quartet's upright bass replaced with the dirty, distorted sound of an electric guitar that reverberates in the exotic flora-tinged air of this ungodly cathedral to debauchery. The theme of the party being the various and extreme places on Almanac, the working class is dressed extravagantly. The many-legged behemoths with their metal-hardened carapace from the gas-filled chamber's noonside are depicted in the cod pieces and hats on barely clothed staff, making small talk, carrying drinks, and politely rebuffing the advances of drunken oligarchs that could ruin their livelihoods on a whim. The cold side, El Despoblado, might as well be a joke to the rich and powerful. An ice cream bar is manned by a collection of folk wearing crop-top parkas over miniskirts and thigh-high fuzzy white boots, paying homage to the fact that, well, it's cold down there. Ice sculptures frame the tone-deaf scene depicting lightning strikes forming nacrium formations lit with glowing blue lights. The Terminus can be found in the banquet that has produced its first appetizers of the night, poached black needles and tartar of behemoth, the nourishment of the common received as a novelty by the corporate elite and garnished with ingredients that are barely in use anywhere besides corporate parties like this one. The presence of the hosts is missed as seats are taken and conversation turns to the Crows. A novelty, perhaps? Perhaps maybe he has another surprise planned? A woman whispers to her hired yet elegant companion. For now, it is a curiosity where they are, as a large burly man moves towards the elevator down into the basement floors. We don't get a view of him clearly in this camera shot, but as he passes in front of frame, we see Felix, one of the men up for election as arbiter. He's leaned over the back of the couch he's been lazily engaged with, his glimmering gray eyes watching the figure move into the depths as he returns to conversation with hidden curiosity. Beneath the tower, we cut to an overhead shot. The camera is placed where a ceiling fan might be, the scene of shocks splayed out in a wheel of people, a concrete now tomb gun range scarred with black scorch marks in this bird's eye view. The harsh white lights normally dominating here have been damaged to a dim flicker, while the computer terminal Ulysses has done his investigation at paints the room in navy blue, casting harsh shadows on the faces of his fellow occupants, Vivian, Kaz, and Claudius. The metal door opens as a couple of on-site medical providers rush in with grimaces and shock. Exchanging a few words, they quickly move into action, tending to Tanya and failing to find any aid that will help the apparently deceased, Luella Rook. Just a minute behind them enters a figure we see first at the boots, backlit by red, washed-out light from a display in the hallway. Bulging, worn brown cattle leather boots, design stamped in of an earth eagle locked in combat with rats jumping up to attack it from the ground. From there, we see the light brown, unfashionable canvas pants he's wearing, held up by a gold belt buckle the size of a fist. On it, 2 crow talons clutch an edict, designed in the style of an old Earth revolver. The camera tilts up to see a black button-up with a wide black tie and the short cropped hair and deep black 5 o'clock shadow on the face of Texas Crow. Claudius, your brother, is built like a block of granite. All of his features are sharp and bulky, his skin a tinge darker than yours, his eyebrows are bushy, and, like every time you see him, are scrunched into a scowl.
Claudius, what the hell is going on here?
Well, Tex, always like you to show up and make a bad situation worse.
You have not begun to see my worst, Claudius. What's happening here? Who the...
He looks around to the 2 rooks in the room.
Hello there. Is this...
He sort of seems to be shocked by your presence. His demeanor changes from angry into more placating, more something you'd see him wearing at a party. Your father, Kaz, for all of his flaws, is not too bad at hiding his emotions when it comes to it.
Excuse me, I'm not really sure you should be here. Claudius, should they be here?
Kaz, I think introductions are your thing, but Tex, let's call them trusted associates at the moment, and they're involved in what's going on. That's his sister on the floor there.
This whole time, Kaz has been slowly edging his way over to Tex's side, where he now stands, almost subconsciously taking his side in this, standing a deferential kind of half step back off of his shoulder. He leans forward. Yeah, Dad, these are friends of ours, and unfortunately, Ulysses Rook, Texas Crow, and Vivian Rook, my father, Texas Crow. He awkwardly reaches for Tex's hand and then realizes that this isn't the way to do it and kind of steps back very self-consciously.
He side-eyes at Kaz, a slight smile forming on his face before returning to his normalized stare.
Pleasure, sir, ma'am. I think we've met before, maybe under better circumstances.
Oh, I'm sure you have. The party upstairs is actually being hosted by both Vivian and I. Did you get a chance to see it? It's going very well. I'll tell you that. It's going very well, and Vivian has been a fantastic help in organizing it. You should get a chance to check it out.
I'm sure it's great, Kaz. But now's not the time, son. I'm sorry about your sister. Anything we can do to keep this... we wouldn't want to disturb the folks upstairs. I'm sure you Rooks can understand that. Maybe we can find out. Do you know what's happening here, Claudius?
Well, we've we have some He seems like at a loss for words of how to express what's happened, not say some things in front of the Rooks. He takes a moment and gathers himself, tightens his tie, stands up a little straighter. There's been some sort of incident with an edict of some sort where we're trying to figure out what exactly happened. I have some concerns that maybe we could discuss privately or later about the the weapon that was involved in whatever happened.
Oh, you mean the counterfeit?
What?
The counterfeit edict that blew up my friend and Ulysses' sister and the head of the family.
Yeah, Dad. Kaz takes his hat off, runs his hand through his hair. She's right. I mean, that's what they found, right, Ulysses? That's
what do you
what
mean
you
there's
said.
a counterfeit? How is that possible?
Oh, I don't know.
Hey, Claudius, is that true? I don't mean to discount you, ma'am.
I would love for you to try.
Ulysses has been standing silent, staring at the medics who are currently attending his sister and allowing the others to speak, stoic and thoughtful, hands behind his back, posture upright, his fingers slowly clenching and unclenching as he takes small steps back and forth. When Texas Crow says the word impossible, his attention sparks once more, and he looks up with a flat expression and says, "It stands to reason that there is no true counterfeit. As my sister lies here perhaps dead, we can sit here and discuss the specifics of how it might have been created, but the greater problem we face right now is that we don't have any more information. But there might be people up at that party that do, and as acting head of the Rook family, I place this responsibility at your feet as well."
As you unfortunately should. I apologize. Anything happening like this underneath my roof is unacceptable. Plain and simple.
That's right.
He looks to Gaz for a second, looks back.
I would appreciate any help you can give us in this matter. I assure you, whoever propagated this, whether it's by the law's hand or not, I imagine they'll be 6 feet under soon enough. So, where did this edict come from?
Maybe just a moment of silence as we all look at one another because nobody knows the answer to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kaz is trying really hard to read Tex's cues here, right? Like his hands have gone into the pockets of his pants and he's looking to see who Tex is glaring at and then trying to glare at the same person. But probably like trying to side-eye Ulysses out of the corner of his eye, like, you should know, right?
Kaz.
Yeah.
No way anybody got an edict or a firearm in here that we didn't account for, right? Everybody's been cataloged at the door.
Oh my God. I bet the security guys fucked it up. 100%. Oh my God. I will find out. I will fuck them up. This has got to be a security problem.
Language, Kaz.
I'm sorry, Daddy. We'll find out.
That's a good place to start. Talk to the security. Make sure all of our protocols were in place. But I think it's unlikely for a shut-in party that wasn't done with all the bells and whistles they had. So,
well, that's true, but I asked for the best package. I spared no expense for this party.
Sounds like a lawsuit to me.
It does. Those Wilders. You know, they must have done this to sabotage me.
As you say lawsuit, he looks to Claudius with a very aggressive nod of yeah, we're going to sue the shit out of whoever did this.
Claudius is standing there, arms clasped in front of him, just looking down, and he nods at the mention of a lawsuit. And then while still looking down, sort of raises a finger. I do think there are some things that we need to consider at this point. One, do not let any of the security people know that we have had a problem here. I think the most important or paramount issue is that we keep this quiet, that we do not interrupt the election that will be occurring upstairs, and that we keep what has happened here within this group of people. That is our first priority. So, Kaz, I would hope when you speak to the security people that you do not mention anything about what has happened. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Discreetness the entire way we approach this. But gosh, Dad, I really, really think the Wilders did this. They must have. That's there's no other reason. Tag Wilder last season was incredibly upset with me. I can only imagine that he sabotaged the security event here tonight specifically because of that reason.
Kaz, I understand you have your rivalries, but this is a bit more serious than some fashion competitions.
Well, that's true. That's true. But Vivian, you've had run-ins with Tag Wilder as well, right?
She probably has. What do I know about Tag Wilder?
I don't know. The Wilder family runs security, and I just made him up.
Okay.
Well, at the very least, we have one individual in this room who might be able to give us some sort of answers. And his eyes fall on Tanya, who was Luella's assistant or right-hand woman, I believe we established.
Yeah, I think the medical team is working on her. Yeah, I was waiting until a dramatically appropriate time, but if you want them to revive her, that can happen currently.
It doesn't have to happen the second, but that's where his mind is. Like, there is a witness on scene that can be questioned for further information relating to the security protocols. While they're having that conversation, Ulysses will say, if your physical security is anything like your electronic security, it's abysmal, and you need to work on that.
Tex is a little taken aback. His eyebrows go up, one of them a little bit further than the other. You feel the full gaze of his intimidating stature, Ulysses, as he says,
Well, we always appreciate feedback. I'm sure myself and, well, whatever boys I can scrounge up will have to do something about that. The fact of the matter is, this is already done. You're right. Let's talk to whoever this woman is, see what she's got. I would also ask, I don't know either of you very well,
and he points to the two rooks with like an open-handed wave,
but whatever you need from me to keep this under wraps and to make sure we find out whoever did this, I am happy to oblige. I'm sure you're aware,
and he looks over to Claudius for half a second before he looks back to them,
that if counterfeit edicts are being made, well, might spell the end for us. Whatever you need, I can make happen. Just please, if not for me, for my boys, keep it under wraps.
Ulysses considers this for several long moments, his eyes flicking between the gathered crows and then finally to his wife by his side, and he straightens up once more and says, I think we're all of accord, and we understand the severity of the situation, but, well, your business might be threatened, your family might be threatened by this. Mine has already been wounded. I am the de facto head of my family while my sister lies incapacitated, or perhaps dead. Maybe even beyond any of our help. So this is a dire situation indeed, in my eyes. But for the moment, I am willing to work with you, as we've had positive relations in the past, and if you had a true hand in this, I don't believe it would have been done as sloppy.
I'm inclined to agree.
But don't for a moment think that I love my family any less than you, that I'm less concerned about their well-being than you are. We share similar concerns in that manner.
Thank heavens for that. All right, reviver.
He motions to the two medics on the floor. One of them, I think, produces a syringe with some sort of stimulant and pumps it into her arm as she comes back to consciousness. Her red lipstick has sort of been smudged and scorched by this black. I think we said one of her arms is like pretty heavily wounded, and they've pumped her full of some pain reducers for that. This half turtleneck, half mop that she's wearing, the white bits are now covered in black, and it's all sort of like scrunched around her body, halfway around it, like if you slept in a bed for 8 hours, the clothes you'd wake up with. And then her hair, which was once this elegant blonde, is now just like a mess over her eyes and ears and everything as she comes back to consciousness with sort of these wide dilated pupils.
What's going on?
She looks up to the gathered crowd. I think everyone at this point has come around her. You know, there's just like a line of people staring around her in a half moon as she looks up sort of wildly at everybody, half dazed by the experience and half dazed by the drugs.
Ulysses moves to the head of the group and Crouch kneels next to her and puts a steadying hand out on her shoulder, but his expression is still quite neutral and impassive. Easy now. Take several deep breaths. Everything's going to be fine. Throughout this conversation, Ulysses is going to be keeping a very close eye on her mannerisms to just see if whatever she tells them is the truth, or if she at any point tries to obfuscate information or withhold anything.
Great. Remind me, and let's make a spirit roll a little later on, yeah?
Sure.
What happened?
Well, we were hoping that you might be able to help us with that. Do you remember the lock-in party?
Yeah. Oh.
And then her eyes go a little bit wider.
Where's Luella?
Don't worry about that right now. We need to take care of you right now.
She's being looked after. We need you to tell us everything you can about what happened.
We were down here to, and you can see her, let's go ahead and do that roll, Ulysses.
What do you
Let's
want me to
it.
roll?
I think it's spirit, right?
That works for me.
Could I support? Because, like, we're both heavily invested in this interrogation.
Yeah, sure. Add a +1. And I rolled either persuasion or deception over here.
I got a 6. I'll stick with the 6.
Cool. She got a 5. So immediately you see her get hung up on her words before she starts saying the next sentence, like she's trying to hide something within it. We were just down here just testing a new firearm Luella bought recently. And, we just wanted to get away from the party. And that's the last thing I remember.
And, this firearm, what can you tell me about it? Where did she get it from? How long has she had it?
I'm not sure. A week maybe. I don't know, a month maybe. Maybe she's always had it, but if something went wrong, that's probably what it is. We just came down here, to get away. But I don't think there's anything special about it. She couldn't afford an edict.
How did you get down here? This was supposed to be closed off. Restricted access.
Kaz nods meaningfully in the background.
She looks up at Kaz and then Tex and takes a gulp. Well, I wouldn't want to throw anyone under the bus, Just one of the staff helped us out a bit and let us down here because we said we wanted to get away. Also a lie. Half lie, maybe, Ulysses.
Sure. And, what was it about coming down here and testing out this firearm that she may have always had that stuck out to you? Why do you assume it was faulty right away? Have you seen her fire it before?
No, I guess not. That's the last thing that happened, so, I'm not sure unless the building exploded, but that doesn't seem right.
Why doesn't that seem right?
Be bad press to kill your guests, wouldn't it?
Surely would be. She makes eyes up at Texas.
Ulysses is going to consider Tanya for a moment before looking to the other crows and saying, "Would you mind giving us space for just a moment so I can speak with my associate in private?"
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Kaz looks to the others for the cue, and when he hears Claudius's answer, he nods quickly in agreement and turns away.
Get back, y'all. Give him some space.
And the medics take a few steps back as well. And Tex goes to the other side of the room, holding his hands behind his back, kind of wringing them as he tries not to look, but can't really help as he paces around the room, leaving the two of you by yourselves in the corner. Her backed up against this concrete wall. Maybe the medics have put some sort of plastic inflatable thing behind her.
Before turning back to her, Ulysses is going to share a significant look with Vivian in which she can see the fire behind his eyes. She was assisting him with this. I presume she can probably also detect the falsehoods in what was being said here.
I mean, she knows her too a little bit just from hanging out with Luella, and she doesn't trust this bitch far as she could throw her.
So he'll go in again, and he'll be speaking in a quiet tone to hopefully not allow the crows to overhear. "You and I don't know each other very well. This is a very serious situation. I understand if you're trying to protect my sister, your mistress, or her reputation in any way in front of those not of the family, but I need you to tell me the truth. I need you to give me something here. So, what are you really doing down here? What can you give me?"
All right, dude, let's have your old persuasion here.
Ooh, blow up a 4.
Oh my gosh.
Into a
D4
3.
persuasion.
A 7. Yeah, my D4
A
persuasion.
7. Okay, I didn't apply any positives, but I probably should. She rolled a 7, so I think you're going to get quite a bit, and you just won't get everything. Do you want to also make one more spirit roll for me, opposed by her persuasion or deception? Because she's already lied to you.
Sure.
So,
Ooh, blow up a 6 into a 4. That's a 10 total on my spirit.
I'll spend a Benny over here. Perfect. All right, I'll tell you about that in a second. She only got a 6, so you got a raise.
Okay.
I don't want to get your sister in any trouble. We were pretty close, but between you and us, it wasn't just a firearm. It was an edict. And I don't think it was one the crows made. I brought in this briefcase, and she looks around. I don't know what it is, but it has some properties that lets you get through scanners and such, at least in a place like this. But that was just for taking it out. She bought it from someone else in what's that place called? Where the crow, And she does a motion of someone taking a bump off their finger. The crow woman, sort of where she hangs out. Deal went down in there because there weren't any cameras, but I'm not exactly sure who it was. She didn't really want to tell me. And a lot of that You're not sure, man. It feels like she's definitely withholding information, but you did get a lot of truth in that. She's leaving out some very key piece, but it does seem like she's telling the truth about the edict. It does seem like the deal went down in the section of the party Ophelia has cordoned off for her drug habits. And then anything else you want to ask, feel free.
I think, Ulysses was kind of asking in a normal persuasion manner as a token gesture, but he is ready to like threaten this woman with the wrath of God for lying to him. So unless Vivian wants to step in any way, that's probably his next step.
Vivian's crouched there in front of this lady, just thinking about how she and Ulysses were standing outside of that room and didn't see anything. And is so mind-bogglingly frustrated that she didn't see anything. What use are these stupid new eyes if they can't see stuff she needs to see?
Ulysses nods to everything that Tanya says and says, good. Thank you for providing me with that information. My sister might be dead, Tanya. I need you to understand this. I am the acting head of the Rook family. I know you are my sister's second, and you have a relationship. You go back. You've rendered service to my family. But you are not being truthful with me right now. And I don't like it when my employees lie to me. So let me be perfectly clear. As things stand right now, we are in the stronghold of an allied family, and my sister has just been rendered unconscious by an explosion from a device that you were with her when she acquired. If you're withholding that information, you could be held culpable, or at least an accomplice to whomever perpetrated this. If we wanted to, you would be buried in legal fees and never see daylight for the rest of your life. If they let you live, that is. I don't wish for that to happen. I know my sister valued your company, and I would like to believe that you didn't betray her. But as of right now, with you lying to me, feeding me these falsehoods, I'm afraid I don't have much else to fall back on. And I will not allow our family to be tarnished by this, not by you, not by anyone. So, do you have anything else to say to me?
God damn. Well, roll intimidation, I
roll
guess.
initiative.
Roll
That's Dude.
Bang!
While Ulysses is speaking, Vivian takes Tanya's hands in like at first seems like a very comforting gesture until she starts to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze.
We'll get a +3 from all of that, Doug.
Okay, well, I also have menacing, which gives me a +2, so...
Those will probably go well.
I rolled a 3. If I'm at a +5, that's an 8. I'll spend a Benny to see if I can get something better than that. I could not. 8, I guess?
She got an 11.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking
But
bitch.
she is going to give you everything, almost everything.
Whatever lawsuit happens, I mean, it could affect your whole family, and I'm attached as well. It could mean like death for me, but I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm just trying to protect your sister. Listen, what I do know, if I'm coming clean here, is that we hired one of the Crow staffers named Peterson, and he smuggled it in for us. You probably can find him upstairs, and whatever part I've played in it, I'll take responsibility for it. I have to. Whatever I could do to take the fall for it, I will. But maybe a way to save the family, our family, might be to go after him. I mean, he won't have the legal fees to defend himself, and he was the one that smuggled it in. But it was Luella's idea, Ulysses. That's on her,
Ulysses will accept what she says. I think the thing that he despises most about what was said here was her, deflecting the blame back onto his sister. Because although that very well might be true, it also seems like she's still trying to worm her way out of being responsible for this, which he does not care for. He'll stare at her for a long moment and then nod his head, sort of pat her on the shoulder a little bit and say, Good. Thank you for being honest with me. You are still a member of our family, and we take care of our own. We'll look out for you.
As you're speaking, her head starts to drift away from you, towards Vivian. Her eyes don't seem to be moving towards anything in the room. It's not like she's scanning for objects. It's like you took her head and her eyes and moved them on a pivot to face towards Vivian as she says,
I am so glad you're a part of our family.
What?
Whatever you need to know, I'll tell you. I'm sorry. What did you say, Ulysses?
Ulysses is now looking at Vivian.
Vivian drops Tanya's hands and walks away into a corner, creates some physical distance between herself and Tanya, just facing away from other people with wide eyes trying to figure out what the fuck just happened.
Ulysses watches Vivian go and then looks back to Tanya, and he says, "Thank you for your cooperation. Just remember, although I appreciate your loyalty to my sister, while I am the de facto head of this family, your loyalty is to me. So if I ask you for a service or to provide me with something, I expect your compliance. Do you understand?"
Absolutely. And I'm not going anywhere, so whatever you need.
Of course not. Well, what I need right now is for you to get better, so relax, let the paramedics take care of you, and we'll handle the rest.
Thanks.
And he gives her another pat and then pushes himself up. Ulysses will take some unsteady paces towards Vivian, as though he's not sure if he should approach her in this moment or not, but then gains confidence and closes the gap. And we see his hand move from behind his back and sort of hovers uncertainly in the air for a moment before he places it softly on her shoulder. "Are you all right, my dear?"
We need to lock Tanya down. She can't go anywhere.
"I agree. She's still lying. I don't know if she's being loyal to my sister or her own agenda, which remains hidden, but I don't trust her, and I'm not giving her free rein of anything."
Good.
"What was that?"
I think Llewellyn got blasted to bits. Land where they may.
His lips purse at that, and he has a faraway expression in his eyes, but he nods a little.
Listen, you're in danger. I'm not joking. You're now a suspect in this. It created a power vacuum that you've filled the role of, naturally, because who else would? I'm just saying be ready for even more suspicion, also on myself, because she was my friend. But this also means that the Rooks are under attack from parties unknown, and it's a powerful family, so there are big gains to be made. So we need to root this out quickly and crush it under our boots.
We see Ulysses' fingers twitch, and he clenches a fist. The yellow light, or the yellow-orange light of his cybernetics flickers brighter for just a moment. "It pays to be decisive when action is needed. No one is above suspicion, but given the circumstances, it would be extremely foolish for the Crows to paint themselves into such a corner. I think it's reasonable to think they also have our best interest at heart, at least in the short term. Do you agree?"
I do. You might be attacked tonight, so stay by me.
"There's no one else I would trust. I'll follow your lead, if and when the bullets start to fly."
Hopefully before, she says as she takes his hand and starts to lead him back to the group.
Ulysses smiles for the first time in this scene.
Well, I trust that was insightful.
"Well, it was better than nothing. I'm afraid I didn't learn anything I didn't already know. Tidying up a family business, I'm sure you understand."
Of course. Well, anything you care to share with the group?
Yeah, actually, before they would have come over here, Ulysses would have checked in with Vivian to see if she thought they should have withheld any specific information.
"Well, this Peterson seems like a sacrificial lamb if there ever was one. He's one of their employees. He's smuggling counterfeit goods into their institution. I can't believe that they would be happy to learn of that.
I don't think they would be.
I don't have a vested interest in looking after him. I don't know anything about this person."
Well, let's find him and put the screws to him.
So then back in this conversation, Ulysses runs a finger along his cheek and says,
"Do any of you know an employee by the name of Peterson? Off the top of your head?"
I'm not sure Kaz knows the name of any employees.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Would this be a Crow employee or like a hired caterer? It sounds like it's a Crow.
Yeah, do you want to roll for fun, see if you know him?
Yeah, that sounds like a smarts roll to see if I remember him off the top of my head.
Yes.
I got a D8 in that. I got a 4.
Maybe it was an employee that Ophelia stopped from getting fired because she could supply her drug habits to her.
I like that.
Claudius, you know who that is?
I believe your wife is familiar with her. I remember a conversation with a Peterson, one of her errand boys. Can we call it that?
I see.
He looks a little... It's like the look of anger after you've been angry about the same thing for 10 years.
I tried to get rid of him but somebody chose to intervene, and I was not allowed to.
Well, that ship has sailed, hasn't it?
It appears it has.
Okay. Ulysses, Vivian, you're saying they got the counterfeit from this Peterson fellow?
That's what we were led to believe, or at least this Peterson smuggled it in on their behalf, or traded it to them, perhaps under Ophelia's watch, perhaps in one of her designated play areas. I don't know. Tanya's still in shock, so we have to take what she's saying with a grain of salt as well. It would be worth investigating.
Okay. That sounds like we got a plan. Kaz, Claudius, I don't know how we're going to do everything, but the election's coming up soon. I think you got about 20 minutes till it starts popping off. So if we can do anything about that situation, that would also be helpful. You lot figure it out. I'll try to excuse the host.
And he waves to Vivian and Kaz.
Thank you. Well, before you go, I mean, it's great you're here. Did we decide who we want to be elected?
Kaz, I don't care. They just gotta be kind of in our pocket. I thought we talked about this. You don't have a preference yet?
Well,
it's 20
no,
minutes, boy.
I have worked. I have proposals and pitches. I fully understand. I just want to make sure that, but if you have a strong
What
opinion
pitches
on
do
this,
you have?
So Felix is obviously an optimal choice. He's we have a bunch of dirt on him. He is essentially in our pocket. He kind of looks the
Okay,
Claudius.
let's go with that then. Why haven't you closed that up?
Great. Yeah, Dad, I'll close it up. Yep.
Is he the one that hunts people?
Yeah, he does. He does. But
Tex raises a huge eyebrow at that.
But
it's all legal.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I haven't done it myself, but I've watched. It's
viscerally upsetting, but it is interesting.
It's quite upsetting, but he pays them. It's all legal. Just of course, yeah, he does do that.
Maybe you should introduce him to Peterson after we have a chance to speak.
Maybe that's a great idea. I can do that. Dad, do you think that would be maybe a good thing to do?
Kaz, I'm more interested in what you think is a good idea.
He's Felix is probably the right choice. And one of my mentors, Rin Fontenue. I've tried to introduce you so many times, but he is a big supporter of Felix too. So I think we can all just say that's sort of sewn up. Right?
Rin likes him.
Yeah, he does. He says he's a straight shooter.
Okay, we'll put him in.
Okay, I'll make it happen.
I gotta say, Kaz, it's been a lot of disappointments recently, but the fact that you managed to make it in with Fontenue is a pretty big deal. I mean, him and I have had some pleasant correspondence, which you'll find out about in due time. But good job, boy.
Kaz's chest swells so large under that mesh dress shirt that he's wearing. Thank you. Yeah, he's even helping me with some of my business ideas. I'm happy to talk about them. Claudius has heard some of them.
He raises another eyebrow.
But it must be a family trait.
It's fine. But we only have a little bit of time, so maybe we should go and sew it up, right? Like bing bang boom, get him elected.
Bang bang boom.
He starts to walk towards the door, boots click clacking on the concrete. He stops at Kaz's shoulders and leans in. Nobody likes a watcher, boy. And then leaves.
Kaz really doesn't know what to do with that. Like, I think he's processing it very deeply to try to understand.
Tex, if perhaps these three could go up the elevator, perhaps I could bend your ear a moment alone.
Yeah, it sounds great. What are you going to do with Tanya here?
And the whole time, everybody else may have been talking at a low enough register that Tanya could not hear you, but Tex has just been blasting his baritone to the room.
Yeah.
If she can remain in medical custody for the time being, that would be preferable. Well, we can attend to other matters and keep her at hand in case we have additional questions or things to run by her.
Kaz, you don't have to raise your goddamn hand. Excuse the language.
Yeah, well, I can handle that. We have, I can just put her in one of the coolers.
The coolers?
Well, that's what we call them, Dad. Like, the security guys and I, I'm really close to him, and that's what they call it. Yeah.
Can you make her
They're-
feel like an honored guest and not a prisoner?
Yeah, we can. I'm sure we can do that. I also know the hospitality folks. They do exactly what I tell them.
Okay, we'll set it up. Tanya, these nice men and Kaz are going to take you out of here, so.
What about Hazel?
Well,
What?
Would you prefer she stays with Tanya or comes with us?
I'd prefer she stays with Tanya. Make sure she's well safe.
I think that's fine insight.
And he'll sort of gesture at Hazel wherever they're standing in the room and just give a nod towards Tanya to have them follow and keep track of him.
I forgot Hazel was here, and perhaps that's just a character trait of theirs, this glowing cyclopean eye glowing from the corner of the room, unmoving as they nod and move pretty gingerly to help Tanya up and out of the room. And they'll go with him for sure.
You can always tell a Milford man.
Ulysses likes Hazel a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Because of those watchful stoic traits and the cybernetic eye and, involved backstory.
that sounds great. I of course won't take them to the room, Dad. I need to go handle the election. We're going to go circulate. I guess Vivian maybe can help me sew that up with all the guests. No offense, Ulysses, but maybe just Vivian and I can handle people and the voting.
A sound stratagem. I'll follow. I won't get in your way. Don't worry.
He looks to Tex for approval.
He shrugs.
All right, let me talk to my brother now.
I think Kaz will head towards the elevator with the rest of them.
The trio makes their way out of the room, and Vivian in her starlight window dress just has a stained nebula of red on it now.
Ulysses will offer one more impassive glance between the two crowmen before turning to follow his wife, both of his arms tucked behind his back and the black tail of his tunic robe dusting against the floor.
As the door shuts behind them, Tex just scatters some ammunition that's on one of the gun ranges across the floor.
What in the goddamn hell, Claudius?
Claudius has been standing there fiddling passively with one of his cufflinks. Doesn't even flinch when Tex does this, almost, I think, expecting it. Waits another beat, hears the elevator start moving, and then looks at Tex and sort of gives a gesture to the rest of the ammunition on the table.
He smashes that too.
Claudius seems like strangely reticent to talk. Maybe seen through his eyes, it feels an awful lot like childhood again and being dragged in front of our parents and lectured about something or other. Tex always the loud one and Claudius trying to melt into the background.
We are 6 months away from a goddamn bidding war, and we might lose it all now over this shit? There are fucking 2 arbiters, would be at least, upstairs. If either one of them finds out about this, we're fucked.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Tex. And that's...
Who's making counterfeits?
Well, I was going to ask you a similar question. Are you aware of anyone that has the capabilities or the level of intelligence that it would take to do that?
You don't think it could be Bubba, do you? I know that boy's stupid, but fuck.
I have made my feelings on the subject known before, and I have taken care of plenty of problems in that regard. It's not the only problem. I've run the numbers, Tex. We need more sales. This quarter, our revenue's down year over year for too long. Our day in court is 6 months.
Why are you bringing up revenue right now?
Because you're in charge of selling the guns, Tex, and in 6 months, when I have to stand before the court and swear that I didn't know what happened down here tonight, or that any of it happened, I at least need to point to a graph that's going upwards that proves that we're using our license, Tex.
Claudius, I'm trying to keep you out of the pig shit. I have a plan that's gonna solve everything. I told you this before, and you ain't been listening to me. None of this will matter in 6 months. Sure, the way we do business may change, but it doesn't fucking matter, Claudius. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. The problem we have is that the license we have right now, that we still have 6 months, by the way, and by the way, the value of our product has never been higher, is being undercut by whatever crazy, suicidal son of a bitch is making these fucking weapons.
It doesn't matter, Tex, how high our product prices are if we're not selling any. We're selling one a year, maybe. We should be selling several a month. I know we have the materials. I know we have the people. You can lie to the board. You can lie to anyone else, but you can't lie to me, Tex. Why aren't we selling anything?
Make a persuasion roll at -4, Claudius.
Well, I have a D10. Well, I rolled a 1 on a D6 and a 6, but I do have charismatic, so I think I can re-roll this.
Oh, nice.
And a 9 on a D10. Did you say -4, so a 5?
Nice.
You happy with that?
I'll spend a Benny. Ooh, okay. Blew up a D10 into a 7, so a 17 -4, so a 13.
Well, when the dice tell you to do something, I guess you do something. He rolled a 6 over here.
If we have the license, we ain't gonna need no money. Now, if you want me to tell you what's going on here, it means you're accepting any liability I brought upon myself and pushing it onto you. Yeah?
Ooh, Claudius has to think about that.
Yeah.
If you don't want that, then how about I just say this? Because I don't think you do.
I think you're right.
Man Casbin's getting in with. Frontenac?
Mm-hmm. I'm aware.
Yeah, you're aware of this guy, richest guy on the planet by a long shot, owns the Methuselah device. He's also like the largest producer of just goods on the planet.
We struck a deal, okay? When we get a little bit closer, I'll let you in on it. But for now, I just need you to trust me that it don't matter. Even if we started selling, we ain't gonna have the money when the time comes for the rebidding war, okay? At least not without Frontenac on our side. There's a lot of people gunning for it this season. Without his help, I'm not sure we got it either way. But if our license gets ripped out underneath of us on a goddamn arbiter called bin war before the 6 months, there ain't going to be no cash to throw at it. Which means whoever is making these counterfeit edicts, we got to figure out now. If I knew who had the capability of doing that, I'd let you know. But as far as I know, all the engineers we've hired are accounted for, and the specs required to refine nacrium and to put it in, the facilities to do this thing has got to be massive. We're talking huge.
It's certainly a complex problem to solve, isn't it, Tex?
You haven't heard anything?
Nothing that I'm aware of that would lead me to believe that this counterfeit, or whoever is making them, has any reasonable chance of doing it multiple times. But
okay,
if you had asked me before today, I wouldn't have believed that it's possible that there were any counterfeits.
Okay, then. That Peterson fellow got it in here. Let's go after him. And whoever gave it to him. They gotta have a lot of money, Claudius, so maybe we can get a piece of them when all this is over.
I think the amount that we might recover for breaking a license fee is paltry in comparison to keeping a lid on whatever this is and burying it deep. I don't think we need to worry about our day in court.
I know that, brother. I trust you. Whatever they're gonna throw at us, I'm sure you got no problem. Okay, well, I think it's time we call back the boys. Bubba's been off fucking around for 2 years now. Let me put out a call to him. Whatever port he runs through next, town will give him a ring. He can bring Dorian with him. Ah, those fucking kids.
I think it's important that Keaton is along to babysit the group. He has good instincts for this sort of work.
I agree with that. Wish he could keep a lid on his temper, though. I agree. Kaz definitely needs a babysitter.
Perhaps an understatement that we could go drink to, but I do appreciate your Kaz quite a lot. He has talents that are beyond me, even though I'm not sure I would like to cultivate those sort of talents. I appreciate him. Never tell him that.
Tex puts out a hand to shake.
Claudius thinks about it for just a beat too long, and then grasps it and sort of pulls Tex in for a hug. Sort of that one hand clasped in front and a firm pat on the back. And he's just overpowered by this giant man compared to his little slender frame. And then he backs up and sort of adjusts his coat.
Everything you've done, Claudius, Well, thanks. We wouldn't be here without you, so thank you. Okay, let's go.
It is a close, shoulders up shot of the three riding the elevator. Ulysses, Vivian, Kaz. All have serious expressions as they reflect on what just happened in the basement of the building, and as their thoughts turn to what's about to happen, the shot slowly pulls out as the door opens, and we're reminded that they are wearing their finest party attire. Kaz takes a deep breath, looks at both of them with the most seriousness he can muster. All right, now the real work begins. And turns to lead them into the party.
Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Crow's Terminus. If you liked what we do here, please make sure to like and review. That's the best way to help support this show for free. And if you're feeling a bit generous with coin, you can join our Patreon for access to our Discord and be in the ranks of folks such as Greg Gray, Ariel Weiss, Jared, Kirby, and Jeremy Dunlap, along with Eric, Kate, Chase, and Jackie Betts. Casted this week are myself, Caleb Sunstead, who you can find at Marshall Caleb on Twitter, Isaac Sunstead, who played Kaz Crow on Twitter at Abel the Crow, Claudius Crow, who is played by Austin Holt, Ulysses Rook, who is played by Doug Nesbitt, who you can find on his show RPG for You and Me, wherever you're listening to this podcast, and Vivian Rook was played by Allie Nesbitt, who you can find on Twitter at UCTheHat, or the same on Instagram, or also on her show at rpgforyouandme.com. Music was by William Ecker or myself, who you can find at musicdirecker.bandcamp.com. Special thanks to Kate Downs for story assistance, along with special thanks to my good friend Cameron Reed for doing a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff. And if you follow us on Twitter at Sounds of Crows, he's the one you'll most likely be talking to. Finally, thank you to Renee Wanger for providing her trombone talent to the music at the very beginning of this episode. Our executive producer is Alexandria Majan at Alexandria Majan on Twitter. Thanks for sticking around for the credits, folks. See you next time.